Hey, rewind, hype rewind 2022. Where are things at? A year ago on crowdfunding. How have they developed? How have they changed? Are you regretting things? Are you not regretting things? Are you that I didn't back that? Where are things at? Because it's going to be interesting. We are in now the throes of February. And when I look back at February a year ago, I didn't think like all of a sudden there were a ton of projects, but all of a sudden there were a ton of projects and a couple with some hype here, but a lot without hype that I'm covering and that really are either going to be solid games, were solid games already, or have the potential to really be a surprise from a good way. So without further ado, let's go right into it. Kingdoms Forlorn, right? Kingdoms Forlorn. On the heels of Aeon Trespass Odyssey, I have to say that this stock up, has definitely gotten a big boost. Now, the question is, this is the comparison I'm going to make here. Dwellings of Elderville versus Elderville in space. Andromeda's Edge. They're going to have overlapping similarities. If you've read either of the rule books, if you've played Dwellings and read the rule book for Andromeda's Edge, you see the similarities there. If you have played Aeon Trespass Odyssey, you have seen the similarities in Kingdoms Forlorn, and which is ironic because I never played Aeon Trespass, and then I did the prototype copy of Kingdoms Forlorn, and now going back and playing Aeon Trespass Odyssey, okay, I see where these mechanics are. Wow, okay. Now, they've done a different overworld. They've tweaked a few of the battle mechanics in terms of the pressuring and the damage and the fluctuations there. And having played both, I'll be frank with you, I prefer Aeon Trespass Odyssey. That being said, I think there's a lot of development to go, and between the prototype and what the final product will be for Kingdoms Forlorn as well. And, the dark fantasy is an appeal. And I just hope the narrative is scrunched down a little bit, because the other thing in the prototype, there was a lot of narrative. And I'm okay with some, and I know you have to have some exposition because some of the choices you're making in this are slightly different, and how they're affecting the allegiance, the alignment, and sort of their D&D-esque alignment, if you will. It's there, but I hope it doesn't overshadow the other game elements. And to be frank, I think you've seen probably, and again, this is Into the Unknowns more than anybody else, I wonder how many people have gone in now further on Kingdoms Forlorn, knowing what Aeon Trespass Odyssey has done so far. Now, if you're not familiar with it, obviously, 1 to 5 player Into the Unknowns sequel follow-up, it only raised $1.1 million. And that sounds like a lot, but for how much hype that was going into this one, I think it was just a price point issue and an unknown. I think I saw a lot of comments, especially in the Board Game Geek forums, that were like, well, I don't know, Aeon Trespass Odyssey hasn't delivered. Are you willing to spend $250 on a core pledge, even if it gets you all of these expansions? And now this gameplay all in for, again, that's a ton of money. $450, that's still a chunk of change. Am I excited about it? Yeah, I think it's going to be something incredibly different. And if they live up to Aeon Trespass Odyssey, sky's the limit with this one. But I think it's going to be very similar to Andromeda's Edge, Dwellings of Elderville. I think this one's going to be slightly more complicated. I think this is going to be slightly less boss battle-y and more exploration narrative, just like Andromeda's Edge is more heavy, more rules, more stuff going on. And more is not always everyone's inclination, right? Sometimes you want dwelling. Sometimes you want a little simpler, straightforward. It doesn't have to be a super deep game to be super fun. That's the bottom line. And this has delivery date of October 2024. So not overpromise, underdeliver. It's underpromise, overdeliver. And it's been, almost 2 months since the time of the last update here. And they talk about Aeon Trespass Odyssey. And then they go into a few of the updates here on what they're doing graphically and as well as functionally for a lot of this stuff. And yeah, this functional design looks to be a lot cleaner. So I like that a lot better, actually, as someone who has Ignite. Woo! In case you can't see, Ignite still chilling here with me. Okay, Ignite, you're in. Tag, you're in. And they run through all of this stuff. But I would imagine that not a whole lot has changed from an actual production standpoint yet, because yeah, they're going to upgrade, they're going to fine tune this thing, and they're going to tune the heck out of it. So there's not a whole lot else to see here, because you're still talking about a year and a half off potentially at this point. But yeah, pre-campaign, 8, solid 8.5. Post-campaign, 6 or so. After Aeon Trespass Odyssey, we're back up to a 7.5. And mostly just because of price point. I mean, because that's a chunk of money. I don't care if you're that, if you're Elden Ring, if you're anything along those lines. I have a hard time ponying up that nowadays, and I'm going to be skeptical no matter who you are, how good your track record is, or how good the game looks. It's just a ton of money that I can spend elsewhere too. So that always has to be said. Sup, Ignite? There you go. You're going to chill with me the rest of the video now. So what else we got on the horizon here? The other, probably, I would say, biggest sleeper hit of last February was Earth from Inside Up Games. I have their game Block and Key. I have mixed feelings on it so far. I don't have enough plays in to have a final judgment because it's this very interesting, spatially challenging Tetris game with a top level and a bottom level, which really just kind of needs the top level, and the bottom level is just kind of a gimmick now that I think about it more. Not that it's a bad thing, it's a nice gimmick. But I just don't know how I feel in terms of this could have been a polyomino game too very easily, or cubes, and it's just, that being said, the price was also not that bad. Anyway, I diverge. Earth is more of an open world engine build, 1 to 5 players, unique cards, combinations, synergies, end game bonuses, min power versus max power, when you use one, when you use the other, very tactical and strategic at the same time. This one surprised a lot of people, including myself. I actually watched Rado's video on how to play this, and I was convinced right from the get-go, okay, this is a game that I like. 10,000 other people said the same thing, and it raised almost $750,000 Canadian dollars. Nothing to sniff at there, just over $500,000 US dollars. This has sleeper hit of 2022 written all over it. I'll put that out there right now. And it's already departed from Shanghai. It's supposed to be, around the time of me filming this, heading over to the US. So, you know what? I might have, by the time you guys watch this video, in a few weeks after that, I might have a copy of it. And so I can talk about it. So I'm really excited about that one. This one, again, I could see being very high potential, but I could also see it being a swing and miss. So this was one that, truth be told, if you go back to the video footage, I said when it was around, I said, I am not a big fan of the theme. I'm not a big fan of the Earth environment sort of aspect of things. That aside, gameplay won me over, gameplay got me in, and gameplay is ultimately going to determine whether or not it's worth it. So pre-campaign, probably a 6 until I watched the video, then it became an 8, and I'm probably sitting cautiously optimistic at about a 7 or 7.5 right now. So then we go back to the other sort of came out of nowhere, riding on the heels of all of the hype train. Holy hype train on this one, right? And you'll notice it when I pull up the Kickstarter page here in a second. The Mind Management Secret Expansions campaign. Board Game Co., Quackalope, Shut Up and Sit Down, Dice Tower, like all of those guys had it in like their top echelon of games from 2021. And so people were clamoring for the deluxe, and then they said, strike while the iron is hot, let's launch it. Here's a little superfluous expansion promo pack thing to go along with it. And you can get it now, and it's more widely available. It's even available on the secondary market. I was actually looking at it about a week ago, and I looked at it on the secondary market, and it was going for like actually about the same price as the crowdfunding campaign with less shipping costs. And I was shocked, because before it was going for, when it was out of print or in between printings, it was like going for double. So that's crazy that it had that much effect in the secondary market, which actually is not a bad thing whatsoever. It's a great thing because it just means it's more available. And at this point, it's available. Like I said, I mean, it's been delivered. You're getting the promos. You want the deluxeifications. I still have yet to, it's another game I have yet to get a review of out. I mean, again, these games and their specific player counts really limit them. And that's probably the biggest issue with this one, right? The one versus all hidden deduction, social-esque dynamic game. Great game, but you really need to have enough play and enough scenario-based driven situational experience with it to be able to say, okay, how do I feel about this and this? How do I feel about this here? How do I feel about this here? If you're like me, you've played enough games now that, with the straightforward ones, one play is enough to know, okay, do I like this game and is this a good game or not? Now, again, I'm going to put that out there. I'm not saying how good of a game it is, and I'm not saying, how nuanced it is, but one play in a lot of games nowadays will tell you, okay, I like this, I don't like this is good, or this isn't very good. It's just the repeated plays are going to sort of give it more of this. So, yeah, Mind Management. Secret Expansions. What did it raise, though? What did it raise out of curiosity here? It raised, almost about the exact same amount as Earth, and with just under the same number of backers, which is incredible, actually, if you look at more of the Earth side of things, because Earth was an unknown. This was a hyped. And just so you don't think I'm making it up, right? Like, they have the Dice Tower and the pair right there at the top. And if the campaign page is like it used to be, yeah, right here, right here. This is the one that they just said right up at the top, we're going to boom it, which is fine, right? Boom it if you got it. But I spoke it, and so I needed to show you too that I wasn't just lying out through my teeth. The next one on this list actually has me a little bit regretful, Ignite, if we're being truthful here. It's the only one on this list that I regret not potentially backing because I think it's a game I would like, and I really have some thoughts on it from that aspect, and that is 51st State Ultimate Edition over on GameFound from Portal with a new GameFound expansion as well. It's just sort of a game that has Liege written all over it in terms of the chaos, the strategy, but also heavy tactics. And I don't know, but the late pledge is closed. So if I'm going to get it, I'm going to have to buy it off somebody else or trade for it at this point. I mean, you're basically just taking a little bit of worker placement, hand management with drafting and variable player powers, and you're just going with any one of like 4 expansions that there are. And you have one of 4 factions that you're taking control, going to locations to get resources, signing contracts to gain locations and resources as well, or attaching locations to your own personal state so that you can use them in another way altogether. And this is just adding more of a good thing. And this is a quality classic that stood up to the test of time. And so it's just going to be, okay, do I like it? And are some of the exclusives that Portal did, because they did do GameFound exclusives, are they going to be worth it or not? Or is it just worth getting it retail with a couple expansions of my choosing? That was the dilemma. And obviously, like I said, I passed on it. It got about $500,000, which for a remake is still very good. They put out new content and it just had everything you needed. And I think the price was actually really good because of the exclusivity, even with this No Man's Land expansion pledge, because the expansion itself was only 14 euros, but the lower pledge level was even still pretty good. So I was thinking of getting just the pledge of the new expansion and going elsewhere at retail. I just decided to pass altogether. I'm probably going to regret it. It's probably one of the few on here that I will regret, but yeah. So pre-campaign, probably a 5, post-campaign a 7, surprisingly, going up there as well. And if we scroll to the latest update here, just prior to the filming, they're in the process of fulfillment. So 2 to 3 weeks, you'll be seeing this one on the hotness as well. And you'll be seeing it, if you're like me, looking for a copy on the secondary market potentially. So yeah, although they say right here, I might not have to wait, because if people are scalping it for too much, I might just go back into the pledge manager after they've fulfilled all their orders, and I can get some of the stock there if I time it right and pay close attention. So I'll probably be doing that as well. Now we're going to go back over to a slightly different direction here. We're going to go over to unfair expansions, the comic book, hacker, kaiju, ocean, and solo expansions. I was hopefully going to get a chance to play this when the campaign actually launched, but things just fell through. And so this is one that I still have heavily on my radar, that I think this set of 4 expansions actually appeals to me more than the original like Western Dinosaur Alien set. Like this just is more my vibe, right? Like comic book, hacker, kaiju, like those are all like, So I'm just more appealed as a take that deck builder. I know some people don't like the take that element of things, but I have absolutely no problem with it. I love that even when I lose all the time, which is pretty consistent around the house when I play, whether it's with the kids, my game group, or my wife. I just end up losing the majority of the game. And the question just is, how good is this going to make it? How different are these asymmetric factions? I want to see. And I potentially want a copy in my collection at some point too. I mean, for a game that is only putting out a small box expansion here, over $200,000, which is nothing to sneeze at, with almost 4,000 people. And again, why is that impressive? Because the original expansion here is only $40. That's not a ton of money to get $200,000. So let's check where the updates are. At the time of me filming this, nothing up in the new year yet, but we have a production update here that says it's going to be supposedly complete before the Chinese New Year, and which is around, well, about 2 or 3 weeks prior to me filming this. So that's going to be the question of, did it actually happen? Did it get delayed by the COVID shutdown? Hopefully they'll have an update here in the next couple of weeks so you can kind of know where things are at. But I would anticipate then you're looking probably around an April, May delivery, which if we go back over here, it's going to be about 6 months late. It's fine. Mid-campaign, pre-campaign, 5.5, 6, probably 6.5 or so right now. Another close one, though, that I'm not sure I regret not backing it, but it's one that I will definitely be giving a heavy look-see when final product comes to mass market. Wasn't kidding about covering a lot this month because, again, these came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, one after one after one after one. Astronauts. I'm talking about Astronauts, the indie board and card follow-up to Aeons End, more of the sci-fi fantasy-esque spacefaring, if you will, version of it with a few different tweaks and changes in terms of how the bosses are going to be interacting, the more adaptable market, as well as the more asymmetric characters, to give that a little bit more of a vibe of the equipment that they can wear. And the jury is kind of out at this point. I mean, it's just been delivering to backers. It was originally supposed to be in October, but it's now just, I think, in the last January or so being delivered. And I've kind of seen it all over the place. As someone who was kind of iffy even on the last Aeons End, I said, why do I need this? Is this just going to be another FOMO-driven game for me in terms of I have more than enough that I can play for one type of game? I mean, the pledges was fine. I mean, $39 for the stretch goals wasn't anything extravagant. It's just going to see where is this going to go. Like, is this going to be Aeons End, War Eternal? Because, you know, everyone says if you're going to get in at this point, like, no one's ever suggested Aeons End, the original base game, after War Eternal came out. And so I had that feeling as well with Astro Knights here. And that's going to be the question. I've tried trading for it several times. I'm even going to try probably in one of the math trades to see. But, you know, it's not super high on my want list right now. Prior to the campaign, I was probably like a 9. During campaign, post campaign, probably a 5. And that's not insignificant. I mean, I think it looks fine. I'm just not sure it's different enough with all the Aeons End that I already haven't played to make me more interested. Does it look better? Yeah. Is it designed better? Yeah, it looks great from that aspect. But I just don't know if it would get played. Hence the dilemma. But it's delivering, so that's all you need to know. Then we have another surprise hit. This is Underdog Games. Underdog gamed this one. Trekking Through History, sleeper hit, top 10, top 20 game of the year from 2022, takes a more slightly heavier gamer approach to their other trekking games. I mean, and I played the other trekking games and they were too light for me. Ignite. And this one was a little bit deeper. And I will say that the expansion that they included with the campaign makes it, I would not play without the expansion, if you will. And so they raised, almost about $250,000 and about 4,700 backers, which is really good. Good track record, good quality product, on time too. Again, it's been out there. It was supposed to be in October and they were like out in October. I did a review of it. It was my review where I did 3 games and I said basically beg, borrow, and burn. Essentially, I forget what it was, but this was the one I was sort of on the fence with the most. And I'll be frank with you, since then, it has solidified its presence in terms of not just on the, sort of cusp of things, but clearly firmly staying in the collection right now. And that's saying something, especially with the quality of games that came out in 2022. So, I mean, that's about all I have to say on that one. I won't even pull up the page because, it's all delivered. The other one that's all delivered at this point is Block by Block, Uprising, Insurrection game. And it's by Out of Order Games. Again, it was over on GameFound, 3,000 people, a 3rd edition, essentially, of Block by Block, only $150,000. And it was kind of under the radar, not really, super widely panned. Again, not that that's a bad thing, but people just kind of said this cooperative nature with this theme, they just weren't a huge fan of. And that's completely okay. It wasn't a super expensive game, but I think that from a cooperative standpoint, I just don't know yet. I have it sitting right over there behind the camera, and I just haven't had enough play yet to tell you whether or not I like it that much. I meant to have a review out of it after I got it, because again, campaign backer here. And so I could see myself going either way on it at this point, just as a hard co-op fan. And so if it can bring me joys from those aspects, boom, it's in. But if it just doesn't, well, again, easy out. Pre-campaign, probably a 7. Post-campaign, probably about a 7. Kind of a wash from that side of things. So I don't really know what to do anymore, and it is what it is. It upgraded the previous edition if you had it, and you could just get relatively decent price, $44 plus shipping. Not bad, not great. Take it for what you will. Sometimes you do that on these campaigns, right? Last one up, the process of delivering right now is Deep Rock Galactic. This is coming from Mood Games and 20,000 backers based off the video game, 2.5 million euros, cooperative, miniature based sort of scenario. Grab your gear, grab your teammates, go into the caves for riches, and deal with the alien bug enemies as they pop up. So did you need the deluxeifications that came with it, with all the miniatures for the extra monsters and all of those sorts of things, including the goo pack? Well, probably not. Let's check where things are at, though. So here you go. Here's that goo expansion I was talking about, and the metal beer mug event marker. It was expensive, though, for what it was. Expensive. Let's see. What were we looking at just for the individual higher level pledge? because those were 4 deluxe pledges. The collector's edition was going to cost you, $175 for shipping, $200 essentially. So people are really excited about this one in terms of staying true to sort of the video game side of things. With the updates right now, again, it's being delivered. So if you're seeing it on the hotness, well, this is why. So it's taking 2 warehouses to do this, and they're going through it as of a couple weeks prior to me filming this. So expect it on doorsteps, expect it on hotness on Board Game Geek, and expect to see some more content and review in the near future. And I have no idea. Is this going to be one of the few good video game ports? Is it not? I don't know what makes it stand out. I didn't look into it as much detail during it, but I'm definitely getting my radar on post-campaign, and we'll see where it goes. So, like, pre-middle campaign, probably a 6. Post-campaign, probably 6.5. Just because I think the potential as a cooperative, shorter, driven game session type game really has a chance to get to the table a lot easier. So I like that everything doesn't need to be a huge campaign narrative too. I mean, sometimes that's nice, right? Like Project Elite. Sometimes you just, boom, there you go. Last up, Rolling Heights, AEG. I mean, you're rolling, right? Rolling Heights. John DeClaire, Meeple rolling city building with an expansion. AEG has been very hit or miss for me because the mini expansions that they're offering in this one as well as the previous ones have not made it for me to be like, wow, can't miss. And they've come at a price value wise sort of a push standpoint post campaign, post availability retail. And so this one was no different from me personally speaking. This one though, comparatively to the several other recent ones, by far and away had the most hype of all of them. 3,200 people, $170,000, which is about what AEG has been averaging. I just don't know if this is a gimmick or a really outstanding, long-lasting mechanism. Like Cubitos is very hit or miss for people, I think, and it gives me vibes of that. Like I like Cubitos, but I traded it away because I just said I don't really think this is going to get to the table that much. It was cute. I would never turn down a game of Cubitos, but I also probably wouldn't get it out for the same reasons, that it's just a lot going on, a lot of dice rolling, a lot of pickup, a lot of set down, a lot of for what it was, and it kind of overstayed its welcome a little bit sometimes with Cubitos. So, is $59 for this master builder pledge with a little bit of deluxification and a little expansion going to be worth it? For Meeples and Monsters, the answer was no, frankly speaking. So the little bonuses here are going to be great. And I think that's really cool. And it's just how useful and how helpful are they going to be and how make it or break it. Like, is it going to be like trekking through history where I don't want to play without the expansion? And if that's the case here, well, then that's a big issue from a retail side of things. Although I don't believe that they actually say that this is exclusive. And the one thing I will say as well is they went with one pledge level, $59. That's it. $59. I like that one pledge level system. You either get it or you don't. None of the standard deluxe, the super legendary, extreme over the top deluxe. I just like the simplicity there. Pre-campaign 4, post-campaign 5, 5.5. Again, it'd be a game I'd be more than willing to pick up in a trade to try out, but I'm probably not going to pay for it or wait for AEG to send me a copy. I don't know who I am. So, eventually I'd love to try it though. Take that for what you will. That's it. That's the roundup. There you go. Looking back, hype rewind 1 year ago. And we'll have 2 years out soon too. I'm not sure if that video is going to be before or after this one of the games that were, 2 years ago, February, because now that we've done this now on this channel, it's going to be a very telling test of time. Like when we get to next year, I can look back and say, okay, all of these should be delivered. If they're not, they've got whole other issues there. But then assuming they're delivered, how are they standing up, right? Like even some of the ones now, like trekking through history, I can tell you, okay, it's been like 4 months since then. This is where it's at, right? I can't tell you, like 2 years after it gets, is it still in the collection? Like that's why I just filmed, and again, I'm not sure if it's gonna be out before or after this. My look back, oh no, I think it was already out. Yeah, it was already out. Duh. My look back at my top from 2022, 2021, 2021. One of those. One of those. My tops from the years past. Like where are they now? No, that was 2022, I think. And, then, it's just interesting to say, okay, how many of these are still in my collection? Why are they still in my collection? Why aren't they still in my collection? How do I feel about them now? Because, that's, it's easy to get caught up in the hype train and the grass is always greener and I should get this because other people are getting it and I should get it because it's on the hype and hotness and train. And you know what? Sometimes, you look back and you go, oh, geez. Right? Right. Okay, I'm done. Peace out. Stay classy. See you around. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want. We're getting there. Hey, you guys watch what I put out. That's all I really care about. So. So we're doing fine.